Creepers! I'm a furry!
And into the trash you go.
Hey, how's it going? Hacksparrow here. So, back in the day, fur hires used to be meta. This guy used to be the bane of everyone's existence. Because, back in the day, when the power level of the game was really low, fur hire was one of the only decks that could really consistently spam out guys, get big bodies on the field, and just disrupt plays. Stuff like Wiz Sage for Hire was insane back in the day, and it was actually possible to create a battle lock back in the time before we really had a lot of card effect removal options for monsters. This was meta for a time. They introduced a bunch of cards. It slowly drifted from the meta as the game progressed, and if I remember correctly, that might have been like pre-Xyz especially, but possibly pre-Synchro. So like, the game was a lot slower back in the day. Nowadays, every card that got hit on the limited list, because yeah, a lot of these cards were limited for a time, every card that's been hit is off the limited list. For hires can go full deck if they want to, but I think there's something spicy you can do with this deck. See, in the TCG, Fur Hire is kind of a link climbing deck that goes into the Fur Hire Link Monsters, and they can have a +3 during the opponent's turn, and they do some nut stuff. In Duel Links, they can link climb just as efficiently, if not more so. Because they have such a limited card pool they have to go through, they'll more consistently see their own names. And as they see their own names, they'll be recycling through the best cards in the deck, and able to climb into whatever Link monster they could possibly want. The game plan with Fur Link is very simple. Use the Fur Hire cards to climb up into different Link monsters and use those Link monsters to win you the game. This deck's strength is kind of dependent on how strong extra deck monsters like Link monsters are at the time. At time of recording, there is no IP Masquerena, so this strength is weaker than it could be. All the nightmares are essentially during your turn, and a lot of times your end board's going to be just Decode Talker or Topologic Bomber Dragon Pass, which could be worse. There are worse end boards in the game out there, but it's not as strong as you might want it to be. So, real quick, I'm going to go through the card by card with this. Big advantage of this deck, most of the Fur Hires are a little bit old, but they were all released in a mini box. There's only a little bit of modern support, such as Filo, which has to be obtained from Infernity Destruction. But if I remember correctly, this is like a rare or something? Yeah, it's a rare, so it's not too hard to get it from that box either. It's not too hard to get beats. This entire deck is a lot cheaper than a lot of other like meta decks you'll find in the game. The hardest part possibly is the lances, and then just getting the Link monsters, which yeah, there's a lot of URs in here, just because I have access to them. But if you need to go down the line and go, oh, I don't have a lot of stuff, but I can get Bellcat Fighter out, you can go into Bellcat Fighter. If you don't think you have a lot of things you can go into, but you've got something like Wee Witch Apprentice, you can go into it. I'm sure your other dark Link 2s will appreciate it. Decode Talker itself is a dark, so that would be appreciated. Like, there's a bunch of options and flexibility when it comes to the extra deck for this. So, card by card, what are the Fur Hires doing? All the Fur Hires, besides Wiz in this deck, have a shared effect. During your main phase, you can special summon one monster Fur Hire from your hand, except for itself. And then they have effects that proc based on special summoning Fur Hires. Most of these monsters can special summon each other out. Wiz is the only exception to this, and we'll get to her when we get to her. But, yeah. It's a very consistent field spam game plan, and it's facilitated by 3 cards: Beat, Seal, and Filo. Beat is your best normal summon in the deck, or if you need to special summon it out, just make sure you have something to special summon after. If a monster is special summoned to the field while Beat is on the field, if a monster for hire special summon on the field while you control this monster, you can add one monster for hire from your deck to your hand, except for Beat. Again, this deck used to be nuts back in the day. Beat was a huge problem. Beat's ability to grab any for hire monster you need is absolutely incredible and indispensable in a deck like this. Its ability to go into either one of your loopers or one of your pop targets is great, and it really improves the deck's consistency overall. Additionally, we have Seal, Strategist for Hire. If a for hire monster is special summoned from your field to your field while you control this monster, you can target a for hire monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. This allows for resource looping as you start link climbing. As you link summon, monsters will end up in your graveyard. Seal will allow you to add them back to hand to either special summon with a different for hire monster's effect, or to use later on in future turns. Because I'm gonna be honest, your turn 1 is a little bit weak, but Decode Talker pass with a monster it's pointing to, Sometimes it's enough. Sometimes that's just enough. So yeah, Seal helps to facilitate that and helps to do the resource loop. Filo, Messenger for Hire, has an effect that if a for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can special summon a for hire from your graveyard in defense position, but place it at the bottom of the deck if it leaves the field again. This, again, is part of the resource loop. You're dumping so many for hire monsters into the graveyard that, as long as you control Filo and you're able to special summon something else, you can get another one out from the graveyard. This one's a little bit more situational. If you already have 2 of your zones filled, and then you special summon a third while Filo's on the field, it won't be able to special summon another. Additionally, sometimes when you get that resource back, it's just not enough to do anything. But Filo is very useful. All these guys have levels. They have attributes. It doesn't matter, because you're using them all to go into Link Monsters. So, all these guys are just kind of ammunition. What does matter a little bit is Dampa, Marksman for Hire, and Recon, Scout for Hire. Dampa says that if another monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control it, you can target a face-up card in the field and destroy it. And Recon Scout for Hire says if another monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, you can target a set card in the field and destroy it. These are your ways with dealing with hard-to-out problems. You'll sometimes have to go into the Nightmares to deal with them, but if you're able to go into the mainline for hires and just deal with them that way, that's sometimes a lot more resource efficient, especially since you don't have the discard for it. A lot of the times your for hire combos will leave you with an empty hand, which is fine, but it's not ideal under some circumstances, especially if you're wanting to use the effect of the Nightmares. Lastly, as main deck monsters go, we have Wiz Sage for Hire. If this card is special summoned, gain 500 life points for each monster for hire you control with a different name, except for Wiz Sage for Hire, maximum like 1,000. When your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or effect, quick effect, you can discard one for hire card, negate the activation. This is very useful in just doing a little bit of control. Endboards that are Decode Talker plus Wiz plus a for hire card in hand, which you typically end up getting by using Seal's effect, are perfectly fine going first. It's probably one of your best first turn boards, besides something like Topologic Armor Dragon into a set Mayhem for hire. But yeah, no, Wiz is a really good control piece. You only run it at 1 because it's kind of bricky in hand as it won't extend your combos. However, Beat can search for it, so having it in the deck is useful and you can consistently access it. Additionally, we're running 3 Mayhem for hire. Target 1 for hire in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position. You can only activate 1 of these per turn. You can use this during your opponent's turn with Topologic Armor Dragon to wipe the board. Additionally, this just allows you to extend your combos. It's essentially 3 copies of Monster Reborn, but there is a hard once per turn on it. So that's important to keep in mind. It'll also proc the effects of Dampa, Recon, and all the other for hires during your opponent's turn. So if you need to set up for pop plays, putting out to these guys, having something in grave, and then placing down a Mayhem as a set spell trap, sometimes is really good. Additionally, everybody knows how to counter this deck. And the answer is Book of Moon. Book of Moon is the best counter to this deck possible. If a monster for hire gets flipped face down, it does not have any way to activate its ability to special summon another monster, and it will not be able to proc its effects that occur when another monster for hire is special summoned to the field. So we are running 3 Forbidden Lance just to make it to where our monsters are not affected by Book of Moon, are not affected by Paleozoic Canadia, are not affected by Floodgate Trap Hole, none of it. We want to be able to activate our effects, resolve them, and not get negated or flipped face up. Or flipped face down, sorry. Forbidden Lance. Target a face-up monster in the field until the end of this turn. It loses 800 attack, but it's unaffected by the effects of other spell trap cards. This is important. Again, we're link climbing with this, so their attack values do not matter. In fact, Filo doesn't have attack values, and while this Seal has okay-ish values, Beat doesn't, and Dampa doesn't, and Recon doesn't, and if you're attacking with Wiz, that's a pretty... I hope you're swinging for lethal, because that's not a great position to be in. That 2800 defense is where you're wanting Wiz to be most of the time. But yeah, Forbidden Lance just helps you to ensure that you're actually going to be able to make your plays. You could run MST as a substitute or any other form of spell trap destruction. However, I find that Lance is just a bit more consistent and reactive, allowing you to go through a couple different forms of, oh, I'm going to try to stop this thing from happening, and you can just Lance it, and then you fix the problem a lot faster. It's debatable. You can put spell trap destruction here instead if you want to. But yeah, this is the main deck, and of course, using this main deck, we are link climbing into the extra. We have Knightmare, Phoenix, and Cerberus, and Unicorn. This is the basic Knightmare line. All of them have effects when Link summoned. Phoenix is a Link 2, which requires 2 monsters with different names. If it's Link summoned, you can discard a card, target a spell trap the opponent controls, destroy it. If it's co-linked, you get to draw a card afterwards. And then co-linked monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Cerberus, 2 monsters with different names. When this card is Link summoned, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 special summon monster your opponent's main monster stone, destroy it. Then if this card was co-linked, when this effect was activated, you can draw a card. Co-linked monsters can be destroyed by card effects. Cerberus is infinitely less useful than Phoenix is. Phoenix's ability to discard a card to destroy a spell trap is generally better than just discarding a card to target a special summoned monster in the main monster zone. Like, it has to be not in the extra monster zone, and it has to be special summoned, which means it can't be a normal summon monster. I don't know. Cerberus just isn't as good as Phoenix is 90% of the time, so as you're Link climbing, feel free to go into Cerberus just to get up to your higher Link monster values. Additionally, we're running Decode Talker, which is just 2 effect monsters. Gains 500 attack for each monster this card points to, cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects while this card points to a monster. Again, very basic Link climbing tool, very good, very just nice to have. I'm pretty sure everyone has this for free because they just gave it out when Link Summoning came out. But yeah, very good card there. We're also running its brother, Decode Talker. It requires 2+ effects monsters, it's a Link 3. Gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card you control, quick effect, you contribute 1 monster this card points to. Negate the activation if you do destroy it. Due to the way that Link zones work in Duel Links, you're going to be pointing only to 1 card at any given time you can actually use for negation. Pointing to your opponent's card doesn't let you tribute their monster, unfortunately. So, Decode Talker is good. It gives you a single negate. If you use that in conjunction with Wiz, you can negate a spell trap, then negate a targeted effect. Those are both pretty good. But while it's your best first turn play, there are dedicated Code Talker decks that do this and more and still suffer because it's sometimes just not enough. So again, this deck's strength is kind of proportional to how good generic Link monsters are. If IP Masquerada was in the game, your first turn play would be summon IP Masquerada, summon a couple more for higher monsters, pass, and then use the Nightmares to make disruptions on the opponent's turn, or just forcefully go into Decode Talker as you're getting targeted. But again, no IP, so we're limited in what we can do. Additionally, last of the Nightmares, Knightmare Unicorn. It's a Link 3. It needs 2+ monsters with different names, and if it's Link summoned, you can discard a card, then target a card on the field, shuffle it into the deck. And then if it's co-linked, you can draw a card. And then, while any co-linked Nightmare monsters are on the field, for your normal draw phase, you can draw 1 card for each different name amongst those co-linked Nightmare monsters instead of just drawing 1. This is tricky. The way the Nightmares are set up, you kind of have to summon Unicorn in the extra monster zone and then put these guys underneath it, Phoenix and Cerberus. It's really hard to get that going properly, but if you can, that's a really good board state. But it's very difficult to get that going consistently, especially without stuff that makes Link summoning a little bit easier. Which, again, it'll come. I assume it will come eventually. But yeah. For our Link 3s, that was just Decode Talker and Knightmare Unicorn. For our Link 2s, we have Code Talker, Knightmare Phoenix, and Knightmare Cerberus. For our Link 4s, it's very flexible. But for one of them, we are running Access Code Talker at home. Rasenleiger requires 2+ monsters except for tokens. It's a Link 4. And you can target 1 Link monster in either graveyard. This card gains attack equal to that target's attack until the end of the turn. You contribute any number of your monsters this card points to, destroy an equal number of cards on the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it can get up to pretty big numbers. If you have Decode Talker or Knightmare Unicorn in the graveyard, this easily becomes a 4,000 attacker. That's really good. If you're able to extend a little bit after you summon Rasenleiger, you can also give him the ability to tribute 1 of your for hires to destroy a card on the field. This is non-targeting destruction, which is also pretty good. But this is mostly used for the attack boosts. Amphibious Swarm Ship Amblow Whale is one of the older Link 4s that was introduced, but it's still pretty good. It requires 2+ effect monsters. It's a Link 4. It gains 200 attack for each Link monster in the graveyards. That includes your opponents. You can only use the following effects of Amphibious Swamp Ship Amblow Whale once per turn. If it's destroyed, you can target a Link 3 monster or lower in in either graveyard and special summon it. If a Link 3 or lower monster on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can manage this card through your graveyard, destroy a card on the field. This is also a good option to go into turn 1, especially if you assume your opponent's going to be blowing up your cards. But you don't get the negation interaction nearly as well. Amphibious Swarm Ship Blow Whale is fine. You'll float into either Unicorn or Decode, or one of the lesser ones, but you really don't want to. It's okay. It's not amazing, but the ability to banish itself from the graveyard to destroy a card on the field does give you some revenge. It's a fine enough card to go into, just be careful of it just not being enough while you're playing. Additionally, our limited one card we're running in the deck is Topologic Marmor Dragon. This is a Link 4 that requires 2+ effect monsters. If another monster is special summoned to a zone this Link monster points to, while this monster is on the field, destroy all monsters in the main monster zones. Also, all your other monsters cannot attack for the rest of the turn. After damage calculation, if this card attacked an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. Topologic Marmor Dragon reads as, if you special summon it onto my zones, wipe the field. The opponent can trigger this on accident. It's kind of funny sometimes. This is also a really good option, especially if you can Mayhem onto it during your opponent's turn. It can really disrupt plays. Additionally, if your opponent has a really good main monster zone board set up, you can use Topologic to wipe that board, but there are limitations. So, this is just the one we're running. If we wanted to, we could run Reinforcements of the Army, considering how Beat is a warrior monster. So, that's the reason why we're running the skill Reinforcements. We're currently on the character Tristan, just because I have Tristan, and I don't have other uses for Tristan. But the skill Reinforcements says can be used each time your life points decrease by 1500, return one card from your hand to your deck, and draw a random warrior-type monster. It just so happens that Beat is the warrior-type monster in the deck. The rest of these monsters are not warrior-type, so you'll just have access to Beat if you're in a losing situation. You'll also get your normal draw still, so if you just draw into Beat, you don't have to do that straight out. But, yeah, you can kind of put whatever you want there, by the way. You don't need to use Reinforcements. You can use anything you desire, but I'm just using Reinforcements because it's a little bit easier to access Beat than it is to, like, draw an Earth or, I don't know, use Beatdown or something. Like, there's just not a bunch of great skills to use with the for hires these days. But yeah. This is the deck, and we're going to go into a couple of example games. I think I'm going to run one against the AI first, and then we're going to go and see how it does in ladder. Alright, so we're going to set this up as Tristan versus Tristan real quick, just to show off what the deck can do. It's fine that we're going second. Having the extra card is actually quite convenient for this deck, because very often you'll resource loop yourself out of the game. Or not out of the game, but you'll drain yourself of resources really quickly. So, we are going to start by norm summoning the Beat. This will allow us to special summon one from hand. And in special summoning one from hand, we are going to be able to do a search. Now, importantly, we have hard drawn Wiz in our opening hand. This is bad. If you're going first, that's one less card in your hand, and you essentially have to kind of end board Wiz, which is not amazing. Wiz does not have the ability to special summon anything from your hand. So there are limitations to what you can do. However, if you're going second, that extra card draw is very convenient. So we're going to go ahead and use Seal here to get out Filo. And then we're going to go ahead and use Decode Talker as our generic 2 bridge for the moment. We're going to do Decode Talker there. We could use Filo's effect to special summon from the hand are Dompa. However, I want to do a little bit of extension in the resource loop, so I'm going to use Mayhem real quick to special summon back Seal. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to use the effect of Filo to special summon back the Beat. And I might have screwed that up, but it's okay. We're going to go into... I suppose at this point it's probably fine to go into Knightmare Unicorn. So we're going to do it this way. Knightmare Unicorn here. We're going to activate the effect of Knightmare Unicorn, pitching the Wiz to spin back the monster, I suppose. If we wanted to, we could go into Phoenix as well earlier in the combo to get rid of that, but like the spell trap, but we didn't need to necessarily, so we're fine. We're gonna use the effect of Filo to special summon Dampa. And we're gonna use the effect of Seal to add back to our hand the Whiz. Now notice that Beat is gone. This is because of Filo's effect. It got shuffled back into the deck. So currently our graveyard is just the Mayhem and the Decode Talker. From here, we're going to go into... probably Rasenliger, just to get an OTK going. We're gonna do that. And then we're going to do Seal, which will trigger the Rasenliger. This will target a face-up card in the field, so unfortunately this just will not allow us to do an efficient pop. However, it still will allow us to get Sage for higher on the field, the Wiz. We're not going to pop with that, but we are going to use Wiz's effect to go ahead and gain 1,000. We're going to use Rasenliger's effect to target the Link monster, gain attack. And then we're going to use Rasenliger's effect to tribute a monster to get rid of a card in the field. It is Needlebug Nest. They activated it in response. We're still going to destroy that one. It is gone. From this position, we can go into another Link too. If we still had access to Decode Talker, we could go into... I mean, if we still had Decode Talker, we can go into Decode Talker just to make a kind of big boy that's immune to destruction until Rasenliger dies. However, there is no need for that. Boom. That's a very basic going second tool there. Just a basic going second match. And then, here's a little bit of what it looks like going first. You'll notice we've drawn 2 of the same for higher here. If it was 2 Dampa or 2 Filo or whatever 2 it is, 99% of the time you need to normal summon one of the double. Like if you have 2 of the same name, you need to normal summon it because this secondary one is going to be the last summon we make in this Link climb we're doing. And that's important to keep in mind because, and this is true, we cannot special summon again using the second copy we have in hand. Like we can't do the special summon, we can't activate its effect. It's essentially a dead card that we're going to be ending on. So we will be careful of that. I'm going to attempt to Link climb to a Link 4, potentially a Link 3 and a 2. Let me see how far we can go. We're going to use Dampa effect to special summon Filo. We're not going to use Dampa's effect to destroy our own cards. Thank you very much, sir. We're going to go into Knightmare Cerberus just to extend past that. In theory, we could go into Decode Talker into one of the Nightmares to just keep them co-linked so the cards can't be destroyed by card effect, or co-link them so they can't be destroyed by battle. That's an option, but I don't value that at the current moment. If you feel like your opponent's playing a deck, like if you see your opponent's playing Pendulums or something and you feel like they're going to die by battle, or you think that the opponent's going to use something that's going to destroy by card effect, go for whichever one you feel is safest. However, the point of this, I believe, is to just Link climb. So, we're going to special summon our second copy of Beat. It does not have any extension ability. However, because we special summon something, we're going to go ahead and activate Filo. We're going to use Dampa, get a Dampa. So, from here we have a couple options. We can go into Topologic Bomber Dragon to set up for a board wipe during the opponent's turn. We can go into Amphibious Swarm Ship and Blow Whale to set up for if this card gets booted over. Right now, it would only have a 200 attack and boost, so we could easily go into another Link 2 as well, just to give this thing even more attack and make it a 3000. I want to go into Topologic Bomber Dragon, but sometimes we'll also want to go into Decode Talker and just end with like a Beat and a Decode Talker, or just whatever you put in the middle and decode. I think for this purpose, we're going to go into Topologic Bomber Dragon. We're going to use 2 material from him, 1 from him, and we're going to use 1 from him to go into Topologic. This gives us a variety of options. When we special summon a card, we're going to be able to pop a face-up card in the field. Additionally, when we do that special summon, it's going to wipe all the main monster zones. So, if there's a field spell that pops up, we can use it to get rid of it. Or a continuous spell that pops up that's annoying, we can use it to get rid of it. But, yeah. And as you can see, we've Linked climbed all the way up to a Link 4, and we still have 1 more monster, which means, if they ever get released, we can actually go up to a Link 5 on the first turn without putting in too much effort. Like, if this Mayhem for Hire was replaced with a Forbidden Lance, we'd be able to do that combo without interruption. But it's the first turn, so we'd be able to do it anyways. But if we were going second, and this was like a Forbidden Lance, we'd be able to do all that without being interrupted at all. So, that's fine. We're just going to use Mayhem for Hire to go ahead and special summon a Beat, which is going to draw. It will proc Topologic. We could also chain Dompa if we need to blow up something else, but it's fine. Reminder as well, if we end up with Recon instead of Dompa, we can target a... Oh, Dompa got shuffled back into the deck. If we had Recon, we could target a set card as well, which would allow us to blow up all the cards in the main monster zone, as well as a set spell trap the opponent might have placed down before the battle phase. But in this instance, I think we're just going to safely normal summon, and then push for lethal. So yeah, that's 2 quick examples. Let's go in. And yeah, that's just an overview of the deck. It has Effect Destruction, it has Set Destruction, it can make big beaters, it can go into dumb plays, and it can do a lot. It's very stupid, it's kind of combo intensive, and it's very easy to mess up and end up with a board of just Decode Talker, single for hire pass, which is not ideal. But you're able to do a lot with this deck if you draw the right cards. And with ratios like this, we're pretty consistently getting different names and able to extend into Link 3s, Link 4s during our first turn, and extending into lethal during the opponent's. So, yeah. I want to thank you for watching, and hopefully, if you're able, you can try out this deck. Again, not super expensive. Clash of Wings is one of the mini boxes from back in the day. It's one of the old ones too, so it has even like a smaller card pool in it. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I played it a little bit during the recent tournament that was going on, and I had a blast. I didn't win every game because generic Link monsters sometimes just are not good enough to get past certain decks, but it's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one. Oh, and remember to like, subscribe, comment, all the YouTube things. Someone mentioned to me recently that I actually don't do that at the end of my videos, and I probably should. But yeah, you guys have a good one.